The next game is a classical Capablanca chase game, and the theme is domination of pieces and sacrificing to restrict your opponent's piece movement and continuing to build that pressure. So also a very nice game, so I hope you enjoy it. White played e4, Capablanca was white, and black went e5. So some kind of a king's gambit. Knight c6, c3. The theory, I don't want to discuss much theory here because not only because I'm not a specialist, but also because it was played in 1922, and it's the idea I want to show this game is definitely got nothing to do with opening. So here white went d4, d5, knight e4, and he took on f4. And here black played h5. So the idea is to play bishop g4, and white's queen is under pressure. So here maybe you could just think for a few seconds how you want to continue in this position and how you would play. Right, so Capablanca just went knight d2. He doesn't really care. So here black played bishop g4, and the whole idea of knight d2, knight e4. So the point is that he took bishop f3 and he gives knight f6 check. Black must go king e7 and knight f3. So white has only sacrificed the queen, no big deal. We've got two pieces. The g5 pawn is extremely weak. More importantly, none of black's pieces are developed or playing. And the king on e7 is extremely uncomfortable, stopping all coordination of black's pieces. So, it's quite an interesting concept that he sacrificed the queen for all this. And after knight f3, black went bishop h6. So unfortunately, black cannot play bishop g7 immediately because white just takes with the g5 pawn with the bishop, and black is unable to recapture on f6 because you lose the queen. In fact, anything you do, you are going to lose the queen or some material. Right, so black first played bishop h6 and white took knight g5, and after bishop g7, he just continued to develop with bishop d3. So here, black went bishop f6, and another very nice move from Capablanca, he went short castle. So the point is that black is unable to move this bishop. If bishop g5, of course, he just loses the queen. And if black goes bishop g7, then just rook f7, and for example, king e8. And I think amongst many other things, white can also play just simply rook g7 is good enough. And yeah, just rook g7, because I was thinking if bishop g6 is a possibility, knight e7 for example, and knight e6, queen d7, rook f8 mate. Very nice. Okay, so and if knight g6, then knight d8. Right, so coming back, yeah, maybe bishop g6 is also very interesting. Probably it's difficult for black to find moves. So white can also play bishop g6, white can also play queen e6 and knight e6. Coming back to this game, to this position here, if for example black plays bishop e5, white just takes rook f7, king e8, and just rook a f1, involving all your pieces in the attack. And now white has many threats. So white is threatening knight e6, white knight e6 and maybe knight c7, depending if your bishop is still alive. Also, most important threat is that white wants to just play bishop g6 and kind of checkmate. Black doesn't have any good moves here to defend. So for example, bishop d6, white just goes bishop g6, and it's going to be very difficult for black to defend against, for example, rook h6, just rook f8, and white is winning. Right. So coming back to the game. So castle is a great move because it involves more pieces. You're continuing your development, and it's an intermediate move before you capture an f6. And most importantly, what Capablanca wants to do is to capture on f6 with the rook, so that he can continue putting pressure on this f7 pawn, and instead of capturing it with the e5 pawn, because then the attack gets blocked. So I'm sure Capablanca saw short castle before he gave the queen sacrifice. Yeah, that's why he's Capablanca. So short castle, and black went queen g8 here. So I'm just going to make this the main line. White took on f6, black must defend f7, so he went rook f8, and yeah, black went rook f1. So like you see in the position, all of white's pieces are taking part against the attack, against the black king in the attack, and black is quite helpless. I mean, he's completely dominated by white's pieces. Black has no moves here. There's no way that he can activate his pieces. So even though he's a queen up, it still kind of doesn't mean anything. So here black went knight d4. Right, so Capablanca continued b4, and the game went on for a while longer. Eventually, he played a4, b5, won the d5 pawn, and won the game in a few more moves. It's not important. c4 was probably winning faster. It was stronger over here. And if dc4, just bishop c4, queen g7, d5. So the idea is to give bishop c5. So white just wants to, if white is able to take on f7, the game is going to be over. So threatening c5, threatening bishop c5, threatening d6, lots of things. Right. So d5, and if b6 against bishop c5, just bishop b5. So this is also a very nice move because white's idea is just d6 mate. And if knight b7, for example, to stop d6, bishop c6, attacking the knight. Also, the f7 square is extremely weak. So white is completely winning. So c4 was stronger, but when you have such a dominating position and all of your opponent's pieces are stuck and you're sure that they're not coming out anytime soon, often you don't have to make the absolute best moves, but good enough moves are good enough to win. So that was Capablanca chase, just a nice idea of sacrificing to dominate your opponent's position, to completely restrict all movement. So we're going to go on to the next classical game.